Hey everyone, good morning, Creator Mom. I want to make a video about unschooling and I want to read this passage from Pamela Rickia's book. I will link her book in the description. The book is called Life Through the Lens of Unschooling, A Living Joyfully Companion. It's book number 3. And this specific passage I want to read is about learning to read. That's a big one for me to kind of get past because because reading is really made like a super big deal in our world, like kids learning how to read early. Even family members can put pressure on you, and you could even feel ashamed if your child is a certain age and is not like reading, maybe because they don't want to, maybe they're resisting it for whatever reason. And with my other kids, we did forced learning for reading because there's something about having your kids know how to read that makes you feel safe. It makes you feel like, oh, phew, okay, at least they know how to read. But anyways, when you're looking at the world through unschooling, it's a little bit different, and it takes some mind renewing. It takes some letting go of a lot of fear. Okay, so here we go. Learning to read without lessons. Even if unschooling sounds interesting and makes some logical sense, it can be hard to loosen your grip on the notion that the basic skills still need to be taught. Once my child can read and write, quote unquote, then I'll be comfortable letting them follow their interests. That I can really resonate with that statement because that's kind of like, where I was at. It's true that reading and writing are useful skills to develop. They are opposite sides of the written communication coin. Yet, precisely because of that, children living in the world will bump up against them frequently. They will encounter real life lessons to learn them, which is both more motivating than just a parent or a teacher telling them that they should, and more effective for real learning because as they learn, they'll be actively using those developing skills to reach their own goals. This kind of learning process differs from lesson-driven learning in a couple of ways. First, there is no external timetable or schedule. And second, the definition of the skills is broader, just as the world is broader than a classroom. Let's dig into reading. At school, teachers need students to learn as early as possible because it is an efficient way for a teacher to communicate with a classroom full of students. The educational system is designed around written communication. Teachers use textbooks and worksheets to share information with students and test papers to assess their progress. So it's no surprise that it values early readers. It's even more challenging for young kids because they don't yet have much of a need for reading beyond school. Their passion is active play. Yet children that don't learn to read on the school's timetable are sorted and labeled and judged as inferior. With unschooling, early reading is not necessary because we have the time to communicate with our children in ways in which they are already skilled. We can talk with them, we can interpret their body language and emotions. We don't need to rely on reading. Our communication is rich. At school, the process of learning to read is swept up in reciting the alphabet, phonics worksheets, and sounding out words. Young children are bestowed the label reader when they can make their way through early readers. And that's just the beginning. They need to live up to it. They feel pressured to continue to develop at the same pace as the curriculum or risk losing their badge of honor. With unschooling, children are surrounded by the literate environment of the real world. They come to see the real value that reading has. Dialogue and directions in their video games, signs at the store to find their favorite food. It's like they become internally motivated, right? The stats on their game cards, websites about things that they like, books and magazines filled with interesting information and stories. Yet that value isn't held over their heads as some perverse motivation to learn faster. Sound it out for yourself. Unschooling parents happily read things for their children until they are ready to take the task over for themselves. And the learning is easier and more effective without the external pressure. Here's an interesting observation I've made over the years. Unschooling kids are more likely to call themselves readers once they are comfortably reading adult level books. That's what reading looks like in the real world. As I mentioned earlier, the educational system is designed around written communication, so being able to read is paramount to achieving success in that environment. Not being able to read puts students at a disadvantage in every subject in that environment. But without that constraint, unschoolers take in information just as effectively in so many other ways. You might find them watching videos like documentaries, specialty channels, enthusiast videos, engaged in hands on discovery like science centers, museums, zoos, or playing around on their own with just about anything like computers, video games, exploring outside, cameras, instruments. In fact, for many people, reading is not the preferred nor the most effective way of learning new things. With unschooling, learning is not compromised for late readers the way it is in school. The same logic follows for fiction. Outside of the classroom, there are many ways to enjoy stories beyond reading books. The world is full of stories being told through different mediums. I just want to pause for a minute and say that the whole thing about doing things through reading books, do you feel that there is a pride behind that? There is like you're so intelligent and you're so wonderful if you do things through reading books. At least that's like the vibe that I get, like you're better than everyone else. You're smart. All right, here we go. The world is full of stories being told through different mediums: TV shows, movies, comic books, board games, video games, plays, storytellers, audiobooks. I fondly remember many enjoyable hours reading out loud to my kids. Enjoying stories need not hinge on the ability to read. There is a wide range of ages at which children are able to pull together the many pieces of the reading puzzle. Trying to superimpose lessons on the process implies not only that learning must be done on someone else's timetable, but that the child's interests and questions and personal connections are somehow not the right order in which to gather the pieces of the learning to read puzzle. But don't infer that not teaching lessons means that unschooling parents are hands off. On the contrary, we are very involved in the process. It's just that instead of following a curriculum that walks students through one particular learning path to reading, we actively live life with our children. Words are everywhere. We read them, we answer their questions about words with direct answers, not impromptu mini lessons. They may enjoy word based games or having the subtitles on while watching movies and TV or following along in a print book while listening to an audio book. Everyone's brain is wired differently, so the things that spark connections will be different. If they aren't reading, it's possible that their brains are not yet ready for it. Guilt and pressure won't make their brains make these connections any faster. Fully exploring the world through their eyes will. And I want to pause again to say that I think that the way we think about children has a lot to do with our behaviors towards them. Like, I think that general tendencies to think that children are like lazy, they don't want to do anything they're supposed to do, like, they just want to watch YouTube all day. Like, I think there's a lot of negative energy and beliefs that we had that, like as a culture, like we have towards children. Because why? Because of course, when you're forcing someone to learn all these things, like, of course you're going to get that feedback. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless it's for like kids that really take in like a lot, they take in the pressure, they internalize it, and they become perfectionists with it, and they perform to please other people and to please their parents and stuff, then you might not think that towards them. But to the rest, it's like, of course you're going to think about them negatively because you're sitting there forcing them to learn all this information. Of course they're going to resist it because they don't give a shit about that. They care about their goals just like you do. So I guess, and kind of instead of like siding with the kids or seeing through their eyes. Like she's saying, we kind of just we embody the system, we embody the government, in the way that they see education, and we looking at our kids through those eyes. All right. So she says, I wrote an article for Life Learning magazine years ago, the May-June 2004 issue, about my daughter's journey to reading. I have included it in the appendix. I can read, the article's called I Can Read. Outside the classroom, there are so many other ways to discover and learn about the world beyond reading. And in the meantime, late readers won't feel like they're flawed. They'll pick up reading on their own timetable and just add that particular way of enjoying stories and gathering information to their already abundant repertoire. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to share. Have a great day.